Oh man. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Wow, you guys are here in full force in the chat, even before I started. Thank you all for being here and commenting already. All right. I was just watching Johnny Olden's recap of the game. Had me rolling as per usual. Let's see. I think we have some overlapping observations. Let me make sure I can see myself on YouTube here. Please smash that like button. Whoever hops in, no matter how long you're here, please smash that like button. The likes are free. Also, please consider subscribing to the channel. All right, I am live. Okay, there we go. There's the ad. Okay. All right, all. We have so much to talk about tonight. I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to play my intro here, my Ohio State intro, and then we are going to jump in. I'll see you on the other side. Go Blue. It's great to be a Michigan Wolverine.
Speaking of which, you know how I got these scars? No, but I know how you got these. You just couldn't let me go, could you? This is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. You truly are incorruptible, aren't you? Huh? You won't kill me out of some misplaced sense of self-righteousness. And I won't kill you because you're just too much fun. I think you and I are destined to do this forever.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to Big Discussions 76 Sports. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar. You guys know who I am. I am a Michigan alum and a proud Michigan football fan and supporter. I'm a YouTube content creator, a blogger, and a soon-to-be writer, and I'm working on a sports-related book. But tonight, the story is Michigan's 30-24 victory over the Ohio State Buckeyes. Oh, we got Abdul Gaines here. So that means we have to give Abdul Gaines one of his signature greetings. Abdul Gaines likes Nick Saban, so let's give Abdul some Nick Saban. Hold on, everyone.
All right, and I'm going to continue to live that way and try to do what's right. And, you know, that's who Nick Saban is. All right, so regardless of what anybody says, that's who Nick Saban is.
So to my fellow Michigan football fans, what I would say is, hey, I'm going to opt for the side of good sportsmanship and winning with grace. And however you want to treat the Buckeyes that you know or any trolls you come in contact with, do whatever you see fit. If you want to rub it in, right? For those who were saying cheaters, 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 you all shouldn't be able to play the game. If you want to rub it into them, go ahead and rub it into those folks. There are some level-headed Buckeye fans out there. There are some gracious Buckeye fans out there. If you want to show them good sportsmanship and good and grace, go ahead and do that as well. But they were piling on. They were piling on from the midseason. They were piling on when Coach Harbaugh got suspended for those last 3 games. So however you see fit to respond to them and to rebut them, and if you want to rub their noses in it, have at it. I myself, I'm going to show some grace, and I'm going to try to show good sportsmanship, even though some of them came for us hard, and they speculated and they spread rumors, and they just tried to pile on over and over and over and over again. I'm going to try to show some grace. So first of all, hats off to the Ohio State football program, Coach Day, and the team. I know some of their fans, like right here, some of their fans are being indignant and disparaging the coach and disparaging the quarterback. But Cal McCord, he played hard. Cal McCord played a good game. And yeah, I'm not going to say anything bad about the kid. The kid played hard. Travion Henderson played his ass off, as did Marvin, as did their offensive line, as did their defense. Ohio State's defense stood up and played some really good football today. Jim Knowles coached a good game. And my prediction on Monday was that it was too close to call. The prediction from the sports books in Vegas was 4 points. I didn't want to say, I thought it was too close to call. And today, yeah, it looked like that game could have gone either way based upon what I was seeing. I felt like, yeah, I really didn't know what was going to happen, especially after that series in the third quarter when Travion Henderson manned up and basically willed Ohio State down the field for that score. That's gut-wrenching. And Ohio State, you guys got to feel it too. It's gut-wrenching when the other team is running the ball on you and you can't stop them. Well, I felt that feeling in that third quarter, and I was thinking, okay, well, if they have Marvin Harrison Jr., Maserati Marvin on the outside, and if they're going to execute like this with their ground game in the second half, well, this thing might slip away from us. It might slip away from us. So I just wanted to show some respect to our opponents, that team down south, respect that we didn't necessarily get for a lot of the season, and even for especially in that second half of the season. So hats off to Coach Sharon Moore. He made history today. I tweeted that to somebody yesterday about, you're going to make history. You're making history. He made history today. Blake on senior day, Zach Zinter, who went out with the knee injury. Cornelius had a few big catches. Rod Moore had the big interception. Will Johnson had the big interception. JJ made a scary throw, which I want to talk about later on. So it was an all-around good performance from everybody. And yeah, it's back on to Indianapolis. We're the Big Ten East champions for the third straight year. And then next week it's on to Indianapolis for the overall Big Ten championship. And then after that, which we should win that game next week. And then after that, it's back to the college football playoff. I was thinking as I was driving up to Buffalo Wild Wings in Tonawanda, New York, that's a suburb of Buffalo. JJ's prediction last year after the TCU loss was, we'll be back. We'll be back. Well, today was a huge step. Regardless of what happens after this season is over, regardless of what happens, today was a big step in JJ's prophecy. JJ's prophecy today was a big step in that coming true in terms of we'll be back. I'm going to read some of your comments here, and then I'm going to get into I'm going to get into my game notes, and then I'll go over the statistics, and then I'll drop the link. If anybody wants to come up, Michael Burden, Mason Blue Mike, if you're out there and you want to come up, I will drop the link if someone else wants to come up. Trey054 says 3 in a row, 12-0, 3 in a row. Raheem Gaines, he's one of the respectful Ohio State fans. We watched the game together. And yeah, I know it must be hard. I know it must be difficult to lose 3 straight to Michigan after owning the series for so long. So again, for the respectful Ohio State fans, I want to show mercy, and I want to show a level of grace, but we haven't always received that from them. Rick Van Buskirk says Sharon Moore is actually a better coach than Harbaugh. Oh, don't know. I wouldn't go too far, Rick. I wouldn't go that far. Antoine says Jim Harbaugh is the only coach that can beat Lil Day Day while watching Netflix. Go Blue, Lil Day Day. Shout out and prayers to Zach, a Michigan legend. Go. Yeah, when Zach Zinter, I want to talk about this. When he went out, you're thinking, okay, that's a major hit to our offensive line. We're not running the ball at a high level already. with him going out, now what are we going to do? But they circled the wagons, and that run game actually it showed some excellent production in that second half, and it was that production that in large part won us the game. Let's see. Antoine says, I wonder if the people in Columbus will let Lil Day Day come home. You know what? And I was thinking about it before the stream as well. Maybe this is karma, because when Ryan Day took over the program, didn't Ryan Day tell Jim we're going to hang 100 points on you guys? Didn't he have a stretch where he was being a little bit indignant and he was talking trash and he got a little too big for his britches, and he told Coach Harbaugh, we're going to hang 80 or 90 or 100 points on you? Well, maybe this is karma. Maybe this is karma for saying those things. So win with class and lose with class. Antoine says, shout out to Aurelius Big Game Johnson, who had 2 big-time underrated catches in the game. Yeah, JJ decided he wanted to throw that John Elway across the body, across the field pass to CJ in the middle. CJ pulled it in. CJ made some big catches today. Antoine says, I hope when Michigan plays in the Big Ten championship game, they boo the hell out of Commissioner Tony Petitti. Yeah, I hope so too. The only thing that will make it better is if Harbaugh has some kind of diss for his lame ass. Yep, someone was talking about that in one of the post-game live streams earlier, that it would be poetic if Coach Petitti has to hand Coach Harbaugh the trophy in Indianapolis next week. Michael Burnett says, go blue. Abdul Gaines says, it's like I'm watching the clown. Okay, a little bit of NBA smack there. It's like I'm watching the clown clips in Scarlet and Gray. He says, can't lose to an assistant coach if you're Ryan Day and you're compensated like he's compensated. Well, that also says something about how well Sharon Moore and the Michigan staff prepared for this. Now, they did have 2 weeks without, and I guess that was a blessing in disguise that Tony Petitti in the Big Ten suspended Jim 2 weeks ago for the Penn State game, because Michigan was able to go into these 3 big games without him. So today, they had already done it. So, yeah. Now, I don't agree with this. Abdul Gaines says Kyle McCord is a scrub. Kyle McCord, he threw 2 picks. The second one was under duress. So Kyle McCord put up over 200 yards. He threw a touchdown pass to Marvin Harrison Jr. He played a good game. All right. He just threw those picks. It's a big game. There's a lot of pressure. It was his first time being the quarterback in the game. So I don't agree with this. I think sometimes fans are a little too hard, especially you, Abdul, a little too hard on the players after when something like this happens. He says, oh boy, here we go. I'll be respectful. Trumpa, you know what? Say whatever you want. A lot of high-end talent on the IHOP. I don't know what that means. Salute. It was a disappointing loss, but it was a fun day with the crew. Yep, the group of us that watched. Michael Berger says, I agree. Okay, I'm going to jump into my notes here, and then I will come back to your comments. Antoine, I'm not going to say that. So, to you haters, Antoine is sending this to you. Y'all deserve every ounce of hate y'all get. I'll read one more from my channel's resident superfan, Abdul Gaines. He says, a lot of high-end talent in Scarlet and Gray has underperformed during their time in Columbus. The 2 rush ends and the number 1 running back are Cases and Point. You know what, Abdul? You're being too hard on that team and those kids. Please smash that like button if you haven't, everyone. Those are free and they help out the channel. Okay, so let's see. I wrote down 3 out of the 5 Fox Sports, Fox Football. 3 out of the 5 of those guys, Herb, Brady Quinn, Charles Woodson, Mark Ingram. 3 out of those 5 guys picked Michigan to win today's game. Gus Johnson and Joe Klatt were calling the game. So Michigan won the coin toss at the beginning of the game, and they opted to defer so they would get the ball back at the beginning of the second half. So early on, you're wondering which team is going to draw first blood, which team is going to get on the board first. So Michigan deferred to Ohio State. Ohio State went 3 and out in the first quarter. Michigan went 3-and-out in that first quarter. Cornelius Johnson had a big drop on first down, right? I think which would have put them in position to get the next first down, or it would have given them a complete first down. Ohio State on their next drive, their offense stalled out with 1 yard to go, so they punted on 4th and 1. On the second Michigan drive, they punted with 7 minutes and 32 seconds. Cal McCord was intercepted by Will Johnson. Last week when I saw Will Johnson after the Maryland game, I said, hey, number one, thank you for coming to Michigan. One of the Buckeye fans who I consider a friend, he said you weren't coming and you came. And I said, shut down Maserati Marvin. He nodded at me, and he ended up getting that first Cal McCord interception. So that was huge because he didn't just catch the ball and go to the ground. He ran it back as close to the goal line as he could. And that set up Blake Corum's first touchdown at 5 minutes and 36 seconds left in that first quarter. That put Michigan up 7-0. I wrote down, for the most part, Michigan was playing Marvin Harrison one-on-one. Will Johnson had pretty good coverage on him. I thought that, and Will was playing injured. He didn't finish the game, but I thought a few times he wasn't turning his head enough, and I think at one point he got the pass interference call against him, but he was matching up with Marvin for the most part early on during the game. All right. I wrote down, there was a big U of M penalty, a face mask call. I think that was, Ohio State. I think they were punting or they were on 3rd or 4th down, but there was a big penalty, a face mask call on one of our players. Michael Barrett got a near interception down near the goal line. And then with 2 minutes and 13 seconds left, Jay Felding kicked the field goal to put Ohio State on the board, 7-3. So the score at the end of that first quarter was 7-3. All right. In the second quarter, Michigan converted a 4th down at 13 minutes and 34 seconds. I was worried early on because Michigan kept getting the 4th down and Sharon Moore kept opting to go for it. So ideally you don't want the game hinging on converting first downs, but Sharon Moore kept being aggressive in those instances. Please smash that like button if you haven't. The likes are free and they help out with the channel. Let's see. Yeah, that 4th down conversion at 13 minutes and 34 seconds, that was a catch by Colston Loveland. Let's see, at 10 minutes and 22 seconds, Roman Wilson caught that touchdown that many were arguing was a fumble or an interception. When they slowed it down, you saw that Roman caught the ball, he made 2 steps, he broke the plane, and then the ball was stripped loose. So that was a huge call by the officiating crew. That one could have been waved off. It could have been called an interception or a fumble or something else, but I think I won't say most of us who are watching that thought it was a touchdown, but I certainly thought that he had possession of the ball and he broke the plane, and afterwards the ball was stripped loose. So that made the score 14-3. Let's see, on the next drive, Ohio State drove the ball down. There was a big Cade Stover reception. I remember on that play looking at our defense, and whatever defense that was that Jesse Minter called, the safety rotated down to cover one of those wide receivers. Cal McCord saw it, and he threw a deep strike to Cade Stover. That got them down into the red zone. There was a holding call on Mason Graham, and that set up the Emeka Egbuka touchdown at 6 minutes and 27 seconds. That made the score 14-10 Michigan. Okay, so it looked like Ohio State might have been coming back at that point. Let's see. At 5 minutes and 37 seconds, there was a big Cornelius Johnson reception. At 4 minutes and 6 seconds, there was a big sack on J.J. McCarthy, which resulted in a loss of 5 yards. Michigan punted. Tommy Doman worked his magic yet again and pinned Ohio State down on the 2-yard line. Okay. And then on that series, I think Travion Henderson went out injured, and I was hoping that he might be gone for the game, but he ultimately came back. At a minute and 11 seconds left in that second quarter, Marvin Harrison caught a big ball on Will Harris, and Ohio State didn't have enough yardage to convert to get a touchdown, so they opted for a field goal. So their field goal kicker, what was his name? Jay Felding. He missed what was a 40 to 50 yard field goal. That was huge. That was huge because they could have used the points, and that sent them into the locker room 14-10 as opposed to 14-13. So at halftime, the score was 14-10. Okay, the second half. In the second half, Colston Loveland caught a big ball. We saw Alex Orji go in. That was surprising that Sharon Moore would trust Alex Orji after not playing him much. And in the biggest game of the season, he got in and he ran the ball, reminiscent of Tim Tebow. Johnny Olden uses that comparison quite a bit. Alex Orji is like a big Tim Tebow-like kid. So he ran the ball, got positive yardage for the team. Michigan got a James Turner field goal at 11 minutes and 43 seconds that put the score at 17-10. At 11 minutes and 34 seconds on the next drive, Mason Graham got a big sack on Kyle McCord. And then Will Johnson missed a big tackle there. I think it was on Marvin. And then at 5 minutes and 35 seconds, Travion Henderson scored the ball, got a touchdown, and that made the score 21-21. I don't know if that's accurate. I think that should be 17-17. Okay, and I wrote down here that was the drive. Ohio State controlled the line of scrimmage for most of that drive. So when I saw Ohio State control the ball on that drive, and when I saw Travion Henderson get yard after yard after yard on the ground, I thought, okay, well, they've hit their stride. They've got their ground game working. They've got Marvin on the outside, Cade Stover on the inside, Emeka Egbuka on the other side, and all they have to do is just not turn the ball over, and they're clicking. So I don't know. I was thinking they could come back and win this game at that point after that drive. All right. At 3 minutes and 38 seconds in that third quarter, there was a big J.J. McCarthy run. I wrote down that all of Michigan runs were to the interior. So the running game didn't look as effective as it did against Penn State. Early on in the game, all the runs were going up into the center. And I was thinking, okay, how come they're not running them out? Why not run some of those? Why not bounce some of those runs out to the perimeter? But, that's what they were trying to get done. There was a big A.J. Barner catch. And then that's when Zach Zinter went down. So when Zach Zinter went down, for me, I'm thinking, okay, at that point, he's a major part of our offensive line. How's the team going to recover from this? And then after it looked like something with his knee because they took his shoe off and they had to put the air cast on his left leg and they had to cart him out. So at that point, you're thinking, okay, how's the team going to respond from this one? And immediately after that, Blake Corum ripped off that big run with 1 minute and 55 seconds left in that third quarter. And that put us up 24-17. So you're like, okay, we've got some breathing room now. So that's huge. Let's see, I wrote down there was a big hit by Quentin Johnson on, I don't know who that was on, but I know on that last drive of the third quarter, Ohio State went 3 and out. Okay, so the question is, at that point, Michigan was up 24-17. How are they going to get more separation from Ohio State at that point? How are they going to finish the game? Well, Sharon Moore dialed up a gadget play, a trick play that we had seen before 2 years earlier in the Big Ten championship game. He dialed up a toss over to Donovan Edwards. Donovan Edwards rolled out, and then he threw the ball to Colston Loveland. So that was a huge play. I know us in the audience, we certainly didn't expect it. The Ohio State defense didn't expect it, and that was a big pickup for us. At 12:30, Michigan was trying to seal the victory, and Sharon Moore called a wide receiver screen to Samaj Morgan. I thought that was the wrong play to call. That didn't get us the yardage that we needed to get the first down or the touchdown. So that resulted in a James Turner field goal, making the game 27-17. All right. So on the next series, James Turner kicked the ball out of bounds. And I thought that was huge because that gave Ohio State the ball with better field position. And I thought that was significant, and it was. They drove the ball all the way down, and they scored. Marvin Harrison scored his first touchdown, his only touchdown of the game, and that made the score 27-24 Ohio State. You guys keep letting me know what you think there in the chat. So at that point, Ohio State pulled the game within 3 points, and you're thinking, okay, how are we going to finish the game? How are they going to finish the game? All right. So on the next drive, at 6 minutes and 35 seconds, there was a Cornelius Johnson first down catch. At 5 minutes and 8 seconds, there was a big Donovan Edwards first down. And then CJ caught that midfield risky throw by JJ. So JJ rolled out to the sideline in a John Elway-like fashion, threw the ball across his body back to the center of the field, which is a no-no. And Cornelius was able to pull the ball in. And that resulted in a James Turner field goal. And I believe that was the drive. That was the drive where Michigan ran the ball and burned all that time off the clock. So even though Zach Zinter went out with that knee injury, Sharon Moore went back to his Jim Harbaugh roots and said, well, we're gonna grind the rest of this fourth quarter out on the ground. And I think they burned off about 7 minutes off the clock just handing the ball off to our running backs, which was cool. Each first down was like, yes, let's get another one. Yes, let's get another one. Yes, let's get another one. And I was expecting and I was hoping that they would finish the game off, but that drive stalled out before they could get into the end zone. And I think that's where that final James Turner field goal came from with 1 minute and 5 seconds left. And then that gave Ohio State the ball back with 1 minute to go. So you got good production from Travion Henderson. You've got Marvin Harrison on the outside. Now you can steal the game with a nice drive down the field. So there was a questionable catch by that one Ohio State wide receiver. He caught the ball. It was close. It could have been an incomplete pass, but he caught the ball and he got both of his feet down. And then one of our guys stripped the ball loose. And I noticed that on that play, Rod Moore was like, instead of falling on it, which would have ended the game, Rod Moore was looking at the ref and saying, no, he didn't catch it. But then instead, Emeka Egbuka fell on it. So at that point, Ohio State had the ball in midfield, and I'm thinking, okay, that was about 34 seconds left. I'm thinking, okay, they could still steal the game with a deep pass to Marvin Harrison or Cade Stover or something else. It's feeling like they're going to come back and steal the win. And then one of our front seven on the next play got a hit on Kyle McCord. The ball floated, and then Rod Moore intercepted it, and that was game. So even though Rod Moore should have fell on the ball that previous play, he redeemed himself and saved the game for our team. And so the final score ended up being 30-24. So those are my notes. I'm going to read some of your comments, and then I'm going to go over the statistics. I'll drop the link if anyone wants to come up, but if not, I will end. And I kind of would like to watch some of the other coverage from some of the other content creators as well. Let's see. Trevor Cole says, my chat just updated. Trevor Cole says, where are those two shoes? He says, this is supposed to be the best team Harbaugh has had at Michigan, right? There's some shade there. Antoine says, you had an entire podcast shows dedicated on rumors and speculation, all from Buckeye channels and other various haters. Screw them all. Yeah, Antoine, and that's why this victory is so sweet. Abdul Gain says, Michigan fans should absolutely talk their bleep. Trevor Cole says, Ohio State way right there in the end, despite McCord. I thought the kid played a good game. I mean, he turned the ball over. That first interception, that Will Johnson interception, Will just made a better play. And then that second interception, I think that was Mikey. I think that was Mikey. That second interception. No, Rod Moore made that second interception to win the game. The pressure got back there. He got hit. The ball floated. And that's what happened when the ball floats up in the air. The guys on the football team, not their fans, were crying, Ryan. Trumper says, Ohio State was right there despite McCord's mistakes. There are classy Michigan fans. Abdul Gain says, Travion had one drive worth a damn in this game. You know what, Abdul? That's a good point. That's an excellent point, because the Michigan defense, despite that third quarter drive where Ohio State ran the ball down the field, the Michigan defense was there to meet Travion Henderson for the most part for most of the game before he was able to break off any long runs. So yeah, a salute to our front seven, and whenever our secondary players got in there to stop them, salute to them too. So they did for the most part. We're going to look at the yardage in a second, but they were meeting him near the line of scrimmage for most of the game. Hold on a second. Okay, let's see. Michael Burden says, we still got work to do. We are not 15-0 yet. Yep. Rick Van Buskirk says, I told you. Yes, you did. Antoine says, Michigan was dedicated to limiting the pass. They play way more conservative than I thought they would. They played way more conservative than I thought they would. I thought they would have dialed up a blitz or two here or there. Ronald Rickman says Bosa, probably an Ohio State fan here. Rick Van Buskirk says, I think Moore is a better coach than Harbaugh. Oh, boy. You guys be careful with this talk. Abdul Gain says, some schools need to seriously consider Sharon Moore. Now he's a Sharon Moore fan. Some schools need to seriously consider Sharon Moore as a head coaching candidate. Antoine says, as I think about it, they should have put Trente Jones at guard. He would be a monster. Trevor Cole says Ryan Day would have hung 100 on Michigan in 2020, but we know how that season ended. Antoine says, no, he's not a better coach. Okay, I'm going to go to the statistics, and then I'll read some more of your comments. And then if someone wants to come up and say something, I'll drop the link. If someone wants to say something, if not, then I'll wrap the stream up. Okay, so I like to go to the ESPN site. Hopefully there will be no surprises from the ESPN site today, because that site is kind of busy in terms of pop-ups and videos. Okay, so the final score was 30-24. Michigan over Ohio State. The prediction was Michigan would win by 4, and they won by 6. It was definitely a roller coaster ride at certain points, and it wasn't clear what the outcome would be. So Kyle McCord went 18 for 30 for 271 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So, I mean, if not for those 2 picks, he played a good game. And I think he still played a good game. He just, well, it's a big game, and these things happen. J.J. McCarthy went 16 for 20 for 148 yards and 1 touchdown. So he played one of the efficient games that we saw early in the season. Fortunately, there were no turnovers from him today. I think we were all worried about that cross-body pass late in the game. But when you have a gunslinger and a chance taker, he's gonna take chances sometimes. So that worked out in our favor today. One of the commentators, it was either Gus Johnson or Joe Klatt, said Jim Harbaugh, when he sees JJ roll out, he encourages him sometimes just to throw the ball away, and he gets heartburn when JJ takes one of those John Elway, Brett Favre gambles. But JJ went 16 for 20 for 148 yards and 1 touchdown. Travion Henderson carried the ball 19 times for 60 yards and 1 touchdown. Blake Corum carried the ball 22 yards for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. Okay, so Blake was definitely the hero, if not one of the top heroes of the game. And I was wondering before this game how we would be able to run the ball against Ohio State. Marvin Harrison Jr., Maserati Marvin, caught 5 balls for 118 yards and 1 touchdown. So he had one of his Heisman Trophy winning games. Though, as a Michigan fan, and we talked about this as we were watching the game, if I were Ohio State, I would have just thrown jump ball after jump ball over to Marvin to see if we could beat it. Well, I'm glad Ryan Day didn't, and him and his staff didn't, but it's a head scratcher why more jump balls and more balls were thrown over his way. Colston Loveland led our receiving core with 5 receptions for 88 yards. All right, so I'm going to go to the box score now. So I already went over Kyle McCord's stats. I already went over JJ's stats. So the Donovan Edwards halfback pass, that was huge. That was for 34 yards to Colston Loveland. Okay, Travion Henderson was not the only back carrying the ball for Ohio State. Chip Trainum got some good runs in there. He carried the ball 6 times for 37 yards. His longest run was 12 yards. Xavier Johnson carried the ball 2 times for 13 yards. Now, it's interesting here for Travion Henderson. He carried the ball 19 times for 60 yards. His long was 8 yards. But that third quarter drive, this shows that third quarter drive, they were getting those first downs piece by piece. None of those were long runs for Travion Henderson and Chip Trainum. Blake carried the ball 22 times for 88 yards. Donovan carried the ball 10 times for 31 yards. Alex Orji carried the ball twice for 22 yards. JJ carried the ball 4 times for 17 yards. And the team that says 1 time for -2 yards. But Michigan ran the ball Michigan generated 156 total rushing yards. Ohio State generated 107. So we won that statistic. Let's see, Marvin Harrison Jr. caught 5 balls for 118 yards. Julian Fleming caught 3 for 59 yards. Kate Stover caught 3 for 42 yards. Emeka Egbuka caught 3 for 24 yards. Travion Henderson caught 3 for 19 yards. Xavier Johnson caught 1 for 9 yards. Colston Loveland caught 5 for 88. Roman Wilson caught 3 for 36 yards and that 1 touchdown. Cornelius Johnson caught 4 balls for 33 yards. A.J. Barner caught 2 for 25, and Donovan caught 2 for 5. There were no fumbles for Michigan. Julian Fleming fumbled once. It looks like Ohio State recovered it. In terms of Steel Chambers had 13 total tackles. Jack Sawyer had 1 sack on Kyle McCord. That was the only sack Michigan got. Steel Chambers is on Ohio State. Let me get myself organized here. He had 13 total tackles for Ohio State. They sacked JJ once. That was from Jack Sawyer. He had 1 tackle for a loss. JT Tuimoloau, he had 1 half tackle for a loss. And that was it. Ohio State had 69 total tackles. Junior Colson led the Michigan defense with 11 tackles. 7 of those were solo. Mason Graham got 1 sack on Kyle McCord. He had 1 tackle for a loss. And that was the only sack our defense generated, but they were able to hurry him. And that last play was huge because that set up the Rod Moore interception. I was concerned about the tackling in space. I think for the most part, the Wolverines did a good job of that today. And they were very, very good about wrapping up Travion Henderson before he had chances to break off big runs. All right. Will Johnson intercepted 1 ball early in the game. Rod Moore intercepted that ball at the end, which sealed the game. Let's see. I won't go over the kick return or stats. James Turner went 3 for 3. Okay, Jaden Fielding for Ohio State went 1 for 2. Both of those kickers impacted the game. That Jaden Fielding miss was huge. Okay. And Tommy Doman worked his magic once again and pinned Ohio State back on the 1-yard line or the 2-yard line on that 1 punt. Okay, I'm going to go to the team statistics, and then I will drop the link if anyone wants to come up, and then I will wrap the stream up. All right. Ohio State generated 22 first downs. Michigan generated 18. Ohio State was 4 for 9 in terms of third down efficiency. Michigan was 3 for 12. Ohio State didn't go for any 4th downs. Michigan was 3 for 3 on 4th downs. Again, early in the game, I was concerned about that because you don't want to have to keep going for 4th downs. But they were 3 for 3. Michigan generated 338 total yards. Ohio State generated 378. Michigan generated 182 through the air. Ohio State generated 271. All right. Michigan generated 156 yards on the ground. Ohio State generated 107. Michigan rushed the ball more, 39 versus 28 carries for Ohio State. The yards per rush were pretty even. Michigan had 3 penalties for 34 yards. Ohio State had 1 for 5. Ohio State had 2 turnovers thrown by Kyle McCord. And then Michigan held the ball. This is a huge stat here, especially in that 4th quarter. Michigan held the ball for 33 minutes and 28 seconds. Ohio State held the ball for 26 minutes and 32 seconds. So that was huge in this game. Okay, I'm going to read through some more comments. I'll drop the link if someone wants to come up. If not, I will wrap the stream up. Let's see. That's there. Rick Van Buskirk says Mikey lit up Henderson. Yeah, that was cool to see. Little Mikey came across that line and smashed Travion. Antoine says, I keep telling these stupid Ohio State people that Michigan has a better staff than they do. If Jim Harbaugh does go, it's not going to change anything. Our infrastructure is strong. Rick Van Buskirk says, Day is like Marty McFly when you call him chicken. He says, Day is okay. He says, the only thing I worried about is Ohio getting out to a big lead, and we would have had to have abandoned the run. Yeah, that was a concern. Antoine says, Michigan is just stubborn. They refuse to open up anything offensively or defensively. They're going to hold to the recipe. Rick Van Buskirk says, when you have 25-star wide receivers, it isn't as good as offensive linemen or defensive tackles. Okay. So in other words, these games are won in the interior. Rick says, do you think Ferentz will win Big Ten Coach of the Year? Well, maybe. Trevor Cole says, at Rick Van Buskirk, and yet Ohio State was right there, driving with a chance to win in the end. There's more than one way to get it done. I agree with that. Clyde Marshall says, big discussion 76 Sports. I ran into David Terrell the other day. Okay. Yeah, he's a legend. He wore the number 1. And then Rick Van Buskirk says, Treppa, and if my aunt had nuts, she'd be my uncle. Okay. All right. So no one wanted to come up. That's fine. There is some dinner waiting for me in the other room. So back to Indianapolis, and we get our skipper back. So unfortunately, I won't be in Indianapolis this year. I went last year, but I will be watching. I think that is a 6:30 kickoff next week in Indianapolis. So look for a pregame show. Probably on Monday. Michigan will be favored to win that game. Trevor Cole says, any worries about Iowa? You know, the one unfortunate thing about this is that neither Cade McNamara or Eric All will be there to play the team. Both of them got injured and didn't make it to the finish. So this is the matchup we were hoping for. Well, I think this is the matchup some of us were speculating about, but neither of the two made it to the finish line health-wise. So any concern about Iowa? No, I think we know what Iowa's MO is and what their style of play is. And we have more offense than they do. So I think it's going to eventually, I think Michigan will eventually get out to a lead, and they'll be able to hold the lead for the rest of the game. So I predict that's what's going to happen. And then even then, once again, you want to get out of that game with no major injuries to key players. So there we are. All right, everyone. If you are watching this on the playback, please let me know what you thought about the game. I want to thank everyone who hung out here in the chat and even left comments before I got the stream started, but folks are charged up over this. It wasn't clear to me what was going to happen before the game and even during the game, especially when Ohio State got their ground game rolling. It wasn't clear to me what was going to happen, but I'm happy with this outcome. And I know Coach Harbaugh is happy as well. So once again, if you're watching on the playback, please let me know what you think in the comment section below. This is Big Discussions 76 Sports. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar. I am a Michigan alum and a proud supporter of our school and our football program. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to donate something to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are below in the description box. You can also leave a super thanks if something was said here that touched and resonated with you. Please consider joining my newsletter. This link is below in the description box. There is a 2-paragraph greeting there, and there is a subscription button there at the bottom. It takes you to that screen, and you just enter in your email address, and then you are a part of the club. I'm always looking for more names. So hey everyone, go blue. It's great to be a Michigan Wolverine who's got it better than us. And yeah, enjoy this moment. And however you want to respond to the Ohio State fans you come across in your circle, have at it. But I'm going to choose to show grace to them. And yeah, good game to both teams. Good game today. They both left it all out there. Unfortunately, someone has to lose. So with that, everyone, go blue. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. We have a little while longer to go, so I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye. Go blue. It's great to be a Michigan Wolverine. Bye-bye.